Hello, good evening to everyone, and also buenas noches and boa noite for everyone. We are transmitting here from the shrine of Pema Rigdzin, and the theme today is in our series about retreat is something that Lama during my retreat used to say over and over. And I thought, why not to share one of the things that he nailed in our heads. Well, first of all, I would like to ask if you have any questions, be it those questions related to the theme today or just questions related to the 3-year retreat. Please write in the chat. Yeah, in the chat. This is the first time we are working with YouTube, so please bear with us. And we'll be very happy to share our ideas about it based on on our memories of what we heard from our teachers. Well, the first thing I would like to start is stopping a little bit, giving ourselves the chance to have a little gap in the continuity of our thoughts and from where we are coming to where we are going, so that we can stay 100% here. And if you guys know the mantra of Guru Rinpoche, I think it's a very good way to do it. It's Om Ahom Banzara Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. Nanma Bandra Guru Pema Om Ahom Banzara Guru Pema Siddhi Hum. 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 Well, dear Vajra brothers and sisters, I think I should start with a little bit of history or of stories. Pema Soling was founded by Lama Rinpoche under the blessings of Dongsitin Lenorbo Rinpoche in the 90s. And Lama Tartin had a really big view of creating much more than just a Dharma center, but an actual temple, a Shedra, a 3-year retreat, stupa, and the fact is Rinpoche ended up accomplishing all of that. The Shedra started, didn't really go very far, but the number of teachings given in this Shedra was really big and very deep. Well, in 1992, Lama Tartin said, it's the monkey year. We need to do something very special about this place. And that's when our Guru Rinpoche statue was built. And not only a very special Guru Rinpoche statue, but it's one of the few in the world that had the face made by Dongsitin Lenorbo Rinpoche as well its hands. The second thing that Lama Tartin thought we needed to do this in 92, a 3-year retreat, and he started. Lama Tartin Rinpoche, he spent 8 years in solitary retreat and 3 years in a setting of 3 or 4, right now I don't remember, students. And in there he received teachings from Kyabje Dunjong Rinpoche, from his own father, Lama Chime Dorje, and from his uncle, Lama Sherab Dorje. Lama Sherab Dorje was not just Lama Tartin's uncle. He was actually one of the most incredible Ngakpa's yogis of his generation. I had the chance to visit Lama Sherab's birthplace 2 times, and even nowadays, when we talk about Lama Sherab, it's like you're talking about the Superman. So great is the admiration that everybody nowadays still have for Lama Sherab in his birthplace in Amdo, in Drubpon. And Lama Sherab not only had the best teachers, but he also went through a pilgrimage all the way from Amdo to the capital of Tibet, Lhasa, and met so many great teachers and received so many teachings until finally he met Dunjong Rinpoche in Lhasa. Lama Sherab had great faith in Dunjong Limpa. He received Dunjong Limpa's termas from his lamas in Amdo. And the idea of being able to meet the reincarnation of Dunjong Limpa in Lhasa was the most beautiful gift that someone could receive in this precious human life. And eventually, Kyabje Dunjong Rinpoche requested Lama Sherab to go to Kompo to help in the building of Dorje Stupa. And he came to Kompo, and that's when he and Lama Tartin met. And not during only during the time of Lama Tartin's retreats, but also he was Lama Tarchin's teacher, retreat teacher, when he was in Kalimpong, when he was in India, in different places, in Orissa, because Lama Tarchin really believed in retreat. For him, the transmission of the Dharma happens through contemplating, through listening, but especially by meditating, because there is no realization if there is no meditation. We can, yes, through understanding the Dharma and the concepts, of course, we can make our minds and make good choices of what to accept and what to reject in terms of our conduct. And by having a proper conduct, we are also creating the causes for happiness in the future. And yes, of course, if our conduct has no mindfulness, of course we are creating the causes for suffering in the future. And that is one of the most important things that Buddha Shakyamuni told us: tame our minds. But the taming of our minds doesn't happen just by intellectual understanding. It happens by looking at our minds, looking at its tricks, training our minds. And that's where retreat comes. So, throughout his retreat life, which I would say was Lama Tarchin was very much in between activity and doing retreat for a certain amount of time of his life. One time Lama Tarchin, we got from him a very important information. He actually actualized 50 different idioms during his life. One Lama Gyaltsen used to say, Lama Tarchin is this very much of a social guy, but you have no idea how the hermit that he could become immediately from. At any time, he would just disappear, get a tent, and stay there for sometimes months in retreat. And yes, after a very long and deep cultivation of direct experience, he brought in 92 this idea of total immersion into direct experience here to the United States. For many years, we had retreatants in our 3-year retreat, and being able to receive from A to Z in terms of empowerments, direct instructions, and oral transmissions. And not just that, but especially sitting and cultivating all the practices that we offer here. Well, now that we made a little introduction to who was Lama Tarchin, who was Lama Sherab, and to the idea of 3-year retreat and why Lama Tarchin was so much passionate about 3-year retreat, now we can talk about the actual theme of the talk tonight. So, Lama Tarchin used to say, we used to quote Lama Sherab, there are 3 kinds of practitioner. The best practitioner is going to meditate within the inseparability of creation and completion. The middle practitioner will practice understanding the words and the meaning of the texts. and he said the most, I'm going to twist a little bit, sorry. The most basic practitioner will practice with faith, devotion, and following the liturgy the most beautifully possible. And of course, I think we all want to be the best practitioner. We want to practice within the inseparability of creation and completion. But that's why I prefer to call the third practitioner the most basic, because actually we are not going to accomplish anything if there is no faith, devotion. And Lama Tarchin, he always emphasized to us very much the importance of faith and devotion in retreat. And what not to think, he was direct student of Tingley Norbu Rinpoche, Kyabje Dunjo Rinpoche, Chatra Rinpoche, in front of this wonderful, incredible teachers. How we are not going to have deep faith and devotion? So that's his background. But more than that, the Dungeon tradition is very particular because of how short it is. The majority of the termas that we practice here are termas of the three roots of Dungeon Jigdrao Yeshe Dorje. Dungeon Jigdrao Yeshe Dorje passed in 1987. The lineage is very short. And when we talk about the practices related to Dungeon Limpa, the incarnation before Dungeon Jigdrao Yeshe Dorje, it's just Dungeon Limpa, Gyurmene Don Wampo, Dungeon Jigdrao Yeshe Dorje, Lama Tarchin, Lama Sonam, Tukutadrao. So, as you can see, the lineage is very short. Therefore, it's very vibrant. It's very brilliant. Not a lot of human beings in the middle. Lonsarkias Rinpoche once here said, if you have a lot of human beings in the middle, things get a little messy. But the Dungeon lineage didn't have time to get messy. And if you think in terms of the masters, there are no ordinary masters in this transmission. There are only sublime, excellent teachers. So, in front of that, faith it's a very big component. Well, of course, faith is important. You cannot sit to practice something if you don't have faith on that. But you might be asking, what's the meaning of faith? Well, the meaning of faith, I am here today going to talk about two kinds of faith in particular. There are more than two, but there are two that's very important. First of all, the faith that this works. The faith that if I sit here, is this going to give me any kind of result? I think that for us Westerns, that kind of questioning always come. And when you leave behind your career, your family, your wife or husband, and your children sometimes, even if they are already adults, and you embark in such a adventurous path like Tria Retreat, you need to be very sure about what you are embarking in. your faith needs to be very clear about the result that you can potentially receive. And Lama Tartin was very much invested in the idea that we can produce a rainbow body in the West. He would say that many times. What's the point? Someone here is going to be the next rainbow body? No, the point is Lama Tartin believed in the potential that every single of us have to attain enlightenment in this lifetime and bring benefit for others. So we need to have faith in enlightenment. We need to have faith that enlightenment is possible. But this faith is not something that you just decide to have. Sometimes we need a little bit of push from outside. Our culture is not so much enlightenment based. And Lama Tartin would tell us, guys, you need to think about the qualities of our lamas. You need to think about the qualities of our lineage. And he would always tell stories about Dorje Rinpoche and his qualities in order to show his qualities. Even Lama Tartin didn't have so much time with our Kyabje Dorje Nyansi Sangye Pema Shepa. I remember when he came back from Bhutan, Lama Tartin was so much brilliant in the way he was very sad for the passing of Kyabje Tenley Norbo. There was no question about that, but he was also so bright about the qualities of Dorje Nyansi Sangye Pema Shepa. So that's the first thing. Meditate in the qualities of the Lama. The second thing Lama Tartin would tell us was read the Namtars. And not read the Namtars as entertainment. Actually, I need to confess, in retreat sometimes reading Namtars, it's a good way to spend time. But that is not why we read Namtars in retreat. Lama Tartin said, you read Namtars to inspire. You read Namtars for finding the qualities that those practitioners of the past had that we don't have. But Lama Tartin would say, we can get a little notebook and write those qualities that we want to acquire and work hard to acquire those qualities. It's very beautiful because Rinpoche he would just say, think in Guru Rinpoche, have faith in Guru Rinpoche, and everything will be fine. Well, at times he would say that, but more than that, he would say, look at such and such, look at Shabkar, look at Chatra Rinpoche, look at their qualities and write, those are the qualities that I admire but I don't have, but I can have. I can put effort through sitting, through meditating, and through resolving to be a better meditator or just a better human being. Sometimes we have this wrong conception that we will just sit in retreat, repeat millions of mantras, and we are going to be another person after that. It's so simple, it's so easy, right? No, it's not. The transformations, they depend I would say 99% in our decision. Being who you want to be or manifest the qualities that you want to manifest depend 90% on our decision, on our decision, on I'm going to do this. I remember a point in retreat when we were talking about the view. I was doing massage in Rinpoche, and I said, Rinpoche, I think that I don't need to really get the view. Rinpoche jumped, said, what? How you can say that? I said, yeah, Rinpoche, I think I need to trust it. And he said, oh, okay, go back to the massage. And what that taught me at that day was you need to trust. You really need to trust. Oh, but I don't know if it makes sense. Yes, you are going to wait forever to make sense. You are going to wait forever to the sky crack and tell you, hey, such and such, this is the view. No. You need to make a decision. You need to put a clear point of trust, cross the line of trust, and be inside of that line of trust. In many retreat centers in the world, actually, you receive the basics of the meditation you're going to do. You go and you do it. And people come Mahasiddhas from there. And you ask how? Circumstances are so limited. And it's because there is trust. That line is crossed. You go on the other side and you say, that's it. There is no more questioning and going back and forth about what I'm doing, what I'm not doing. You go and you do. So the most basic practitioner has this kind of trust, has this kind of faith. But on top of everything, yes, we can talk about read the liturgy beautifully. Although this is true, this is 100% accurate, we need to understand that in retreat we have much more than just reading the liturgy. The Mahayoga practices, yes, they have a lot of liturgy. And if you guys want to have a very deep immersion in liturgy, mantra recitation, ritual, the best place is right here, Pema Oselin. Right now, our shrine is being prepared for a summer retreat, and you are going to experience what is the power of visualization, of recitation, and meditation in one. But Lama Tharchin also believed in the power of beauty. So, yes, it was Lama Sherab's words. Recite beautifully and with faith and devotion. But I remember that as a retreat master, he put a lot of emphasis in the perfection of how he wanted us to do. You don't hold the Dorje like this, but like this. You hold your Drubpon here, not here. What's the meaning of that? It's just a matter of doing what Rinpoche said. Well, to a certain extent, perhaps we can say that. But much more than that, how to carry yourself with a balance of elegance, harmony, and mindfulness. If you are doing, for example, a ritual like this, Where is the mindfulness? Where is your sense of presence? So when we talk about the most basic practitioner doing it, singing it beautifully, we are talking much more than just carrying ourselves beautifully. It's carrying ourselves with mindfulness. When we talk about Mahayoga, this is really obvious, but when we talk about Anu Yoga and Ati Yoga, there is not so much recitation. The meditation takes different formats, but the mindfulness is still necessary. The same mindfulness. Even in the Anu Yoga, when there are yogic exercises, Lama Tarchin was so strong about you must do it beautifully. But when he would show ourselves, what we would see was pure presence, pure mindfulness. It's very easy for us to just, like we do during a ritual, read and not be present, read and repeat mantras without this fullness. This fullness, this presence also bring mindfulness, awareness. Lama Tarchin used to say in some pith instructions, straight your back and make your eyebrows high. What that brings to us? A sense of awareness, of fullness, of presence. So when you talk about reading beautifully, it has a much bigger sense. When we make our tormas beautifully, like the tormas that we have here for summer retreat, they pass to us a sense of beauty that also is going to pass a sense of perfection. If we want to attain enlightenment in one lifetime, we need to have this sense of fullness, of beauty, of discipline, of mindfulness. So those are not just the most basic way to practice. This is the basis to practice. As much as we might think about knowing the words and meanings, or think that we are so great doing our inseparability of creation and completion, if we don't have that very basic sense of beauty, meaning mindfulness, meaning presence, meaning being with your being 100% on what you are doing, you are just going to spend your retreat 100% dispersed. What you are going to get from that? Perhaps go to a bar and tell people that you did retreat. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Get a retreat certificate? No, we don't have this here, by the way. So how much you are going to gain from your retreat is based on this sense of presence that you can invest in your session. Having said that, we can talk about the second level, as Lama Sherab would say, knowing the words and meanings. When we talk about knowing the words and meanings, let's take, for example, the kind of practice we are more familiarized with, the creation stage practices. Have you ever thought that every single sadhana, that's how we call the creation phase manuals. They are divided in a same structure. It's always divided in preliminaries, main practice, and concluding stages. The preliminary practices always have refuge, bodhicitta, in different formats, but 7-line, 7-branch prayers, Kartor, Gektor, the creation of the protection circle, the sending of blessings and preparations of the offerings. When we practice a sadhana, we need to, and we talk about knowing the words and the meanings, we also need to understand, be it in creation, completion, great perfection, the meaning, that the words, or how it is divided. What's the meaning? I always tell people in retreat, guys, if you have at least the Tibetan names of each section, you can take every sadhana, even if you don't have a translation, and you are going to know what you're doing. Let's say you have a picture right here, no translation, but you know Chandran, invitation, Chöpa, offering, Japa, mantra, recitation. So, it's not enough for those who are trying to understand the words and meanings not to understand the parts that make the whole engine works. So the main practice usually goes with the process of creation. How this process of creation usually, but not always, go. We have something called 3 samadhis. Have you ever heard about 3 samadhis? So that's how you start the process of creation of the palace. And for those who are coming to summer retreat, you are going to have a great surprise about palace. Just come and you will see by yourself. Great, great, great surprise. But you have the palace, you have the deity, and the entourage. You have the invitation, offerings, praises, all of that process. How this process works, why those elements are there. So as you see, when we talk about words and meanings, it's much more than understanding the words, for example, Tingizing Sum, 3 samadhis. How we translate that? What is the philosophical implications of this? Because for everyone who really is passionate about words and meanings, there is a little bit of a danger of this passion for words and meanings take you from your meditation. So, just a friendly advice. It's important, but that's not the essence of meditation. But structure, and understanding structure. A person who understands words and meanings understands the structure. How is the structure put together, and why the pieces together are going to create a certain effect. Once you understand that, the next step is, in terms of words and meanings, is understanding, yes, literally the words, because every sadhana has its own very particular vocabulary that is going to pass more than a teaching, is going to pass an understanding that is inseparable from meditation. I will give you a very interesting example. In the 70s, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche was invited to give a talk about Tibetan art, about tankas in a museum. And he arrived exactly on time, and he stayed inside of the car in front of the museum. And he waited a whole hour. You can imagine that probably he made some people a little unhappy. And once 1 hour had passed, finally Trungpa Rinpoche entered. A lot of people had already left, but the people were there heroically unhappy. But okay, they were heroically, they really wanted to understand about Tibetan art. Why the tankas have gold here, why the wrathful deities have big, wrathful this and that. Okay, what Trungpa Rinpoche did, he said to everybody, okay guys, let's put our back straight and start to look at our breath. Yes, Trungpa Rinpoche was very much on shamatha. And very fast he started to have people asking, we are here to talk about Tibetan art. This is a museum. What you are doing? Why are you putting us to meditate? And Trungpa Rinpoche's answer was, all those art objects are aids to meditation. If you don't have an understanding of meditation, all those artifacts, they don't have function. So what do we learn from this very unusual teaching from Trungpa Rinpoche? That words and meanings also, they need to convey tools or step rocks for our meditation. If we just study words and meanings, try to understand, go in dictionary, ask Lama, please, can you talk about those words, A, B, C, and you don't have a very clear plan of using that to understand why you're meditating, oof, you are wasting your time. You can do that at home. Actually, perhaps you can do that through YouTube, like we are doing right now. But if you're going to enter retreat and sit and spend days, weeks, months, years on top of a cushion, then you need to be prepared to use every single word and meaning as just an aid for meditation. That's what we do. And of course, in terms of the practices of creation, there's a lot of words. But in terms of completion, even though we don't work with words so much, we still need to have a clear understanding of words and meanings. Rinpoche always said that, so that we meditate with confidence. So here's the point. What do you need to meditate with confidence? Faith, devotion, a sense of beauty / mindfulness and presence. Okay, number one. Next one. A sense of understanding what you are doing. We talk about words and meanings, but not being lost within the forest of words and meanings and thinking that this is meditation. And then we get to what the Lama Sherab would say, the best practitioner. I just want to be sure that we are on time. Is the practitioner who practices in the inseparability of creation and completion. And that sounds so fancy, right? That's what we want to think that we are doing. But how do we know that we are doing? Well, first of all, we need to separate creation and completion in order to merge them. When we talk about creation and completion, we are talking about the process of gradual, or perhaps not so gradual, trauma is not so gradual, for example, creation of a enlightened reality. Oh, would that be enlightened I? Well, to a certain extent, perhaps we can tentatively say yes, but remember that Buddha Shakyamuni said four things, but cyclic existence is insatisfactory. The I has no basis. Transcendence is peace, and all phenomena is impermanent. So remember, there is no root for the I. Well, that's actually the first step in the process of creation. You sort of bring your idea of I back to the most pure absence of I after you passed away as a sentient being. And then you restart the whole process from a point of view of wisdom. You create a body. Let's say, for example, Guru Rinpoche here. In his right hand, he's holding a Vajra. On his left hand, he is holding a Kapala. He has this rosy white complexion, and he's using the three robes. Okay, I think I got it. You pretend that you are Guru Rinpoche, right? No, that's wrong. The process of creation is the process of relaxing the grip of our belief in an I and allow wisdom to manifest as Guru Rinpoche, as Aryatara, as Hayagriva, and so forth. We have so many possibilities, right? But that is the point. Wisdom phenomena. Wisdom phenomena is not the counterpart of material phenomena. Wisdom phenomena is unbounded phenomena. Phenomena as it is, in its absolute form, but manifesting what we call Rupakaya, manifesting a form. Can be Sambhogakaya form, Nimanakaya form, different Buddha bodies, but they are all Buddha bodies, meaning they are wisdom bodies, they are wisdom phenomena. And the most beautiful thing is that we do not deny that our everyday reality exists. No. Everything belongs to wisdom. Everything is inseparable from wisdom. So when I'm here visualizing myself as Guru Rinpoche, I'm not pretending to be Guru Rinpoche. I'm not trying to dress with a visualization robe of Guru Rinpoche. Ooh, I'm Guru Rinpoche. Look, I look like Guru Rinpoche in my visualization robes. No, it's not that. We are Guru Rinpoche. We are our Aryatara. We are Shitro. And our wisdom, our mind is wisdom mind. Is Dharmakaya. Our speech is naturally mantra. But if we don't have the understanding of what we are doing, our capacity to do it is going to be limited. But if we don't have that faith and devotion and as Lama Sherab would say, that beauty, that sense of presence, of mindfulness, our bodies are there, our minds are somewhere. I'll tell you a story that I heard from Lama Sonam. Where's Lama Sonam? I think he's there. The fifth Dalai Lama and another yogi decided to go in retreat at the same time, each one in a different cave. And Dalai Lama, the fifth Dalai Lama, in the middle of his meditation, he was there talking about, I think I need to get some new carpets for this cave. Yes, and some adornment to this cave. And the other guy came out of retreat. I think they had, they bet who were going to be in retreat for longer. And Dalai Lama came out and said, so I am the winner because you came of retreat before me. And this yogi said, well, actually, I was in retreat when you decided to go down to the market to get new rugs for your cave. Okay, what this story is trying to tell us, we think that we're doing creation, completion, everything. Beautiful. But if just the body is there, doing mechanically, that's not creation. That is not completion. That is nothing. It's just us going to the market to buy a new rug inside of our minds. So, as you can see, each stage will build to the next, and the next is not going to exist without the other ones. So, the process of creation, yes, if we do not release the grip over this reality right here and allow wisdom phenomena to be wisdom phenomena and everything to be experienced as wisdom phenomena, where is our minds? Our minds are in this. This is a mug, and this is this ordinary person having ordinary thoughts. So, the creation phase, it passes through this, releasing the grip over our attachment to appearances and allowing the wisdom appearances to manifest. I know that I'm repeating myself, but some things it's good if we can get drilled in our heads or our hearts. Now, the completion stage is the opposite. The completion stage, it works with our process of dissolving this reality. Usually in terms of my yoga, what we do primarily here in our public settings, it's you just devisualize everything back into a space of non-thought. Okay, this is a completion stage. That's absolutely what we hear everywhere, how we do it. Just visualize the universe dissolving in the palace in the deity in the bija, the syllable into emptiness. Okay, that is right. But when we dedicate ourselves to a long period, specifically looking at the completion stage, we are going to be looking at the how the dissolution process happen in its minutes. More specific on the basis where this process happen. Our body. Our body is formed by channels. You guys already heard about that. Nadis that create chakras that are nadis in forming a round disposition in thousands of points in our body. We have the winds, and we have the essential drops. Okay, if I start to talk more about this process, I think I'm going to end up talking too much for this kind of format. But the most basic understanding of this process is there is a mind that moves through the winds, forming trains of thoughts. And those trains of thoughts, they ride on the horse of the same winds. So we use the control of those winds to set in motion the mind towards enlightenment, full enlightenment. So the practices of the completion stage, in a nutshell, they are that using the natural winds in our body, the subtle winds, the vayus, for instead of creating more samsara, more cyclic existence, more ordinary phenomena, point it and the mind that rides it towards enlightenment. This process is known in other traditions, 6 yogas of Naropa. We don't use this kind of words here. Our system has a different name, but that's the name that usually people know for the completion stage practices. And as I said before, the creation, it's like you restarting your phenomena into wisdom phenomena. And the completion stage, it's like going into the end, going back to the beginning, into wisdom reality through the crossing of very particular moments. For example, the moment of death, the moment of deep sleep, the moment of deep meditation. And not only death, but it's the same process. We cross exactly the same thresholds in these 3 situations. And after death, we also cross the bardos. All of that is the domain of completion stage. And when we talk about the inseparability of creation and completion, and all of this happen, the completion stage, through the use of our winds and our mind in this relationship we just described of a night a horseman and its horse. So, when Lama Sherab talks about the inseparability, we are talking about the inseparability of this ordinary phenomena that we see as ordinary, but it's not ordinary when we relax our grip to it and allow it to become what it really is: enlightenment, wisdom phenomena. And at the same time, we experience it through the channels and the mind, and bringing mind and channels into the space of wisdom. In every single sadhana, we can have those two working together and inseparably. But it's necessary to have both trained separately, step by step, developing confidence in the previous step before going to the next step, and then they can merge. And years later, I remember about asking Rinpoche, is there any kind of completion related to Great Perfection teachings? And Rinpoche said, well, there is completion completion phase with a framework. That's what I just described. And there is completion without a framework, which means great perfection. And Lama Tarchin said, well, that's why I taught you guys Riche first. I said, what do you mean, Rinpoche? Because when I introduced you to Riche, I introduced you guys to wisdom directly, without any kind of intermediary. When you have that certainty, any practice you do, be it Anu Yoga, Ati Yoga, Maha Yoga, they are all Dzogchen. You cannot separate anymore. So at that point, Rinpoche brought a totally new understanding of inseparability of creation and completion. And I remember when he taught Riche, he said, in other traditions, we start with in the beginning. In the Dungeon tradition, we set the pace starting exactly by using the result, by teaching Riche. And recently we had, and I hope we are going to have next year, continuation, Tuku Jigme Mandrak teaching Riche here. This is the most seminal teaching of the Dungeon Tercer, because as Lama Tarchin said, we start introducing the result, and then it retrofits the whole thing, because when you understand the nature of the result through teachings like the Riche, you also understand you don't need to understand. Your relationship between faith and understanding, they merge in one single thing. Your understanding has no longer need for a constant questioning, because there is confidence. There is no need for questioning. And the faith, it goes beyond the idea of I believe that, to the level of confidence, the level of I know that because of my own experience. So as you can see, these three different levels of practitioner, it's much more a gradual path towards gaining confidence. But this confidence is only going to be acquired if we sit and meditate with our whole being and with at least, if not confidence, at least faith in the qualities of the Lama, and the qualities that we know that we can accomplish. I think must be, it's already 6. Do we have any questions? Anyway, in this meanwhile, I want to do a little bit of infomercial here. This is a very special summer retreat. Why? Because every single summer retreat in Pema is special. Period. There's not one that's not special, because we are here in front of Guru Rinpoche with the best teachers. How we cannot be special? But in particular, some really important things are happening. We received 5 marble, massive, beautiful, incredibly inspiring statues of Green Tara and the Taras and the goddesses of the 4 elements that are a great support for the wisdom body here. And independent of if they were consecrated or not, if they have something inside or not, the fact is you are going to come to Pema Soling, look to those taras, and I dare you not crying because they are so incredible. They have real blessings. And please, if you have chance, come to Pema Soling to experience this first hand. Second, we are going to have our very special handful of lamas, including Tuku Tadrao, Tuku Jamyan, and Lama Sonam. And in particular this year, we are going to have Dünzur Rinpoche's grandson, Tuku Nangyal Dawa. I think this is the first time he's going to give tantric empowerments in Pema Soling, the empowerment of the Shitro, and I think perhaps the 7 treasures. Anyway, and he's going to be the Dorje open for our Shitro and Drubpon. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have the opportunity, please come. This year is very special, especially because after all the hard time we had during pandemic, this is the first this is the first summer retreat that happens post the official lifting of the pandemic. So that's the commercial I wanted to do. Yay! Let's see what I can parrot from here.
Okay. Please give the English name for the Richo you were referring to.
Oh, Richa means mountain retreat. And we have in our bookstore, but there are actually we have several different translations. And the Richard is Dunjong Rinpoche's manual of how to do retreat. Not with the technical specifications of how we're going to do this or that, but especially how we are going to prepare your mind to receive and work with wisdom. Practicing from the point of view, not just the ordinary mind, but from the point of experience, not point of view, the point of experience of wisdom. And once you have that certainty, you can do any practice. So I highly recommend for anyone who is going to enter retreat, I'm going to recommend Lama Tartar Rinpoche would just, any question would have, especially existential in retreat, he would say, Richard, read the Richard. I remember one time someone asked something and Rinpoche said, how many times did you read the Richard? Read at least 10 times. Because the Richard has every single answer for someone looking into doing the best retreat possible. Richard, Mountain Retreat by Kyabje Dunjong Rinpoche Jigdral Yeshe Dorje.
Okay. How does one work in retreat with lung from mantra recitation?
Oh, that's a fun question. Well, guys, first of all, what's the definition of lung? How we work with lung mantra recitation is very simple. You just breathe in and out, right? If you don't want to sneeze in front of everyone, you are going to control your respiration for not sneezing. But I think what you are asking, how do we deal with sok lung? Sok means prana, and lung means vayu. So we're talking about the prana vayu, the prana that controls the chest, meaning the expanding energy of the heart and the contracting energy of the lungs. Yes, there is such a thing called disturbance of the prana vayu, or for short, soklung. And okay, in theory, this definition is very beautiful, but practically speaking, what is this? Basically, is anxiety, sometimes even panic. And the first thing for working with soklung is, before retreat, having a good conversation with your Lama. Because do you have any tendencies to anxiety, depression, panic? You need to think about those things before retreat. Don't think that retreat is going to be the magic formula to all your problems. If I think all of us, to a certain point, have some level of anxiety. But when you have that level of anxiety where you cannot breathe, you cannot sleep at night, and you start to having a hard time, high level irritability during the day because you didn't sleep the night before, you will have that before retreat. So we need to enter retreat prepared. There are some herbs in Tibetan medicine to deal with that are the families of the agars. But the most important thing is, Lama Tarchin would say, do not squeeze your brain, meaning you need to have a balance between how much you are putting effort and how much you are relaxing. Second, retreat should be an act of happiness. You need to be happy in retreat. Retreat is not something that you are forced to do. Retreat is not a prison. Retreat is your chance to attain enlightenment. So you need to be happy about doing it. If you feel retreat as an obligation, that is going to create a certain level of frustration, and therefore, sooner or later, you're going to develop some level of soklon. Third, you need to have very good rest, which means it's not a matter of hours of sleep, but quality of sleep. For example, do you have apnea, sleeping apnea? You need to go to the doctor to address that. It's not the Lama who is going to address that for you. Do you have, are you having any particular medication that will affect your mind? I have seen people who had gone into retreat and thought, oh, Lama Sona, no problem. I have seen people going into retreat and stopping their medication. That doesn't work, guys. Medication is not going to magically make you back to your so-called normality. If the only person who can say you should stop your medication is your doctor, it's not yourself. Therefore, I have seen at least 2 times people stopping medication in retreat. That doesn't work. So, in order to manage soklon in retreat, you need to think about all those factors. You need to put together all those factors. And great part of those factors is how much you prepare, how much you do not mess up. Now, finally, oh, there's one more before we get to the finally. Exercise. In 3-year retreat, we have the yogic exercises, and they are the best way to manage the soklon. I remember one day, Rinpoche asked, "Oh, you are looking very happy. What happened?" "Yeah, Rinpoche, I said to him, I was very hungry. I put everything in the exercises. I'm feeling so light now." And that's true. If you don't move your body, be it through the yogic exercises, that's the best way. And everybody should learn that in our 3-year retreat here. But if not, walks in the forest, or Tibetans, they have the most basic form of yoga that I know. It's called prostrations. Yes. Why do you think you spend 100,000 prostrations before you come to the main practice, because prostrations help to align and extend our nadis, our channels, and discipline our vayu, our inner winds. So any kind of exercise is very important, especially if you're going to spend 12 hours sitting like this. So exercise. Finally, I think your question was related to Soklung and mantra recitation. Okay, what I see a lot is people getting Soklung, meaning anxiety, because they need to do this immense number of mantras, and they spend time in the kitchen talking, they spend time behind the books looking for inspiration, and the 3-hour session become half an hour session, and it's a little hard to get mantras done. And you need to use your time so that you don't feel constricted because you're not being able to finish the number of mantras. And this is something that I have seen a lot. There was one retreat where numbers were emphasized, and I remember at least 3 people coming to me and saying, I can't believe that we need to do all this number of mantras. And I said, Lama said, we do, period. And it's very interesting because I remember a couple people that they were so strict about their time of practice, finish their numbers without any problem. Okay, this constriction that happens because we need to finish this number of mantras, it creates all this frustration and anxiety, is one factor. Yes, it is one factor. And the way to deal with this is by managing your time and your concentration. But there is another thing that is Soklung that happens because we are, the way we are doing the mantra recitation. Some people want to do some mantras very fast. And that's the problem. The mantras start to lose their format. You start to be able to really hear the words, and the mantra recitation becomes a blob, a big blob of, especially when the mantra is long, like Vajrasattva or that Ratful mantra of Vajakilaya. The guys need to be introduced to the Nangjong mantra. That is really long. People get really anxious, get really soklunging. And the best thing is to be honest about how much you can do, and don't try to do more than it's possible. You need to be realistic. So usually with me, I would just recite the mantra very slowly until I have the mantras 100% memorized and flowing. And only after that try to go fast. Every time that I try to go fast, not having this flow, I will tell you, I would get really out of air and anxious. Now, to conclude this subject, it is possible to integrate the breath in and out. There are people who do in other words, there is no space to breathe. So stop, breathe. And some people have they are not going to stop and breathe, but they are going to do the mantras in the inhalation. That's okay. And something that Lama Sonam tells a lot people in Drubja. After 1 mala, after 10 malas, put the mala down. Sit. Refresh the visualization. Refresh the clarity of the visualization. Put yourself in an authentic place of contemplation. And then, yes, sometimes you think that Mahayoga is just do mantras fast. This is only going to create anxiety. It's important to put the mala down, refresh the whole process, refresh the visualization, and that is going to refresh your Sok Lung again. Uh-oh.
Okay. Because of time, we'll just read the remaining questions here, and then you can do what you want to do. Okay. How does one know what practices to choose to focus on in 3-year retreat, especially if we haven't completed the Dujom Tersar Nandro? And next, are initiations given within a 3-year retreat? What is the quality control of motivation to know the right time to enter a retreat? In 3-year retreat, are all participants doing the same practice? Can you offer an overview of the retreat? Thank you.
Oh, good. Thanks for asking that, because I forgot to say that, and it's very important. Okay, guys. In 3-year retreat, it's not a choice of program. We have a set program, and this program passes through Ngondro. If you already did your Ngondro, you can do a fraction of the Ngondro again and put more emphasis in the accumulation of Guru Yoga. Actually, the accumulation of Guru Yoga is 10 million. We do the completion stage based on the 3 roots, Lama, Idam, and Dakini, which in the Dunjong tradition, Lama can be Tsoki Tuktik or Dorje Drolo, Idam, Vajrakilaya primarily, and Dakini sometimes Tromanagmo, sometimes Kandru Tuktik Yeshet Sogyal. We have the completion stage with characteristics based in one of those idams, and also the great perfection based on the cycle of that idam you are doing. Finally, we conclude with long life practice and fire pujas. Basically, that's it. What is going to be the idams we are going to practice in retreat? Well, that's going to be decided with the lamas, and probably you might go into retreat and not even know it. So the best thing is not to have expectations about the deities you are going to practice. Why? Because they are all wisdom without exception. And you only really know if you like a practice after having completed. Number 1. Number 2, quality control of expectations. Lama Tarchin would always tell us, no expectations, no concepts. Open your mind, open your heart. If you want any kind of quality control pre-retreat, is first 4 thoughts, second 4 thoughts, third 4 thoughts. By the way, 5 and 5 for thoughts. That's the most important thing. Having developed a sense of renunciation to cyclic existence and a commitment to attain full enlightenment. That's the most important thing. And yes, everyone who is in the 3-year retreat program follow exactly the same program because things work. It's impossible to teach different things to different people. However, we are going to have some open cabins, perhaps 2 cabins for people who would like to join for 6 months, for 3 or 6 months, more likely 6 months, to do short Ngondro retreats. Because guess what? Nothing is more important than the Ngondro for any practitioner. So if you guys are interested, you can send emails to 3-year retreat, I think, at vajrayana.org. But you can also go to our website to get more information. We have a section there specific about 3-year retreat, where Lama Tarchin exposed the whole gradual path. Did we cover all the questions? I think so, huh?
Are initiations given within a 3-year retreat?
Oh yeah, you must receive initiation. It's not possible to do a tantric practice without initiation. So yes, the initiations are given for the specific practices that are going to be practiced. Thank you, guys, and we are going to conclude doing the dedication of merit, and followed by the prayer for the maintenance of the Dunjong Limpa tradition, that is the Tersar, and the prayer for the maintenance of the Nyingma tradition in general. Noi sunam de tamje limanin domne nimbe donam baje yingyang anan ju bala chupa ye libedul Jawa and Jawa Sho and Bemerin Long Ajuru Zopai Chen Don Nimbo Shinda and Dunjon Lingang Temba Linde by Minu Shedon Dubes and Yoraji Jamam Jolor and Lonje Lamlin Lazon Jamba Bendo Juju Zon Nawada Menda the Zon Yele Show. Thank you guys, and see you in the next month. Some point. Thank you.